Welcome back to the expert interview series here at the Business Acquisition Summit. Today, we are excited to have Amber Spears on the show. Amber is an affiliate marketing expert, business community builder, and keynote speaker. In the past 8 years, her company, East Fifth Avenue, has generated over $530 million for clients and has trained over 2,500 companies. She's also the founder of Four Rooms Mastermind, which brings together influential entrepreneurs to create a community to count on, be inspired by, and to help everyone elevate their personal and professional lives. Amber, thanks for coming on.
Man, I'm delighted and grateful to be here. Thanks for asking, and excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we are as well. So, um, yeah, I would love to kind of dive into your background and kind of find out where you came from and how you got here. I just think it might be helpful first to start with, there might be some people watching that they're not familiar with affiliate marketing or not. They haven't used it before. So could you share a little bit about what that is and how it can be used to grow and scale companies?
Yeah, of course. I tend to think that affiliate marketing is almost one of the oldest form of marketing that there is. If you think of it through the lens of like referral marketing, right? Because, think about the oldest days of business when it first started, right? You're probably shipping wares on ships or on camels and whatever. You unload them. You have a guy that helps you unload, your wares, helps you sell your wares, helps you store your wares, right? So you've got a guy. It's really like, I think at the end of the day, how this works at scale is a trust transfer from one person to another, one brand to another, one company to another. I do think it's like one of the oldest forms of marketing and ways of growing your business that there is. It's like I've seen it work at very local levels, like local BNI groups I was a part of, where it's like we had one guy we did all of our referrals to for car insurance. We had one residential real estate person that we recommended everyone go to, right? Like I was the SEO person at the time. So it's like that form of marketing, I think intuitively we all kind of know it because we all have that person. We all have a hairdresser we love, a videographer we love. We all have, an expert that we love. So it's really like a referral based form of marketing, and it's that trust transfer that makes it incredibly effective. That I think is what's really working behind the scenes. It's like if I'm a big fan of Huberman and Huberman says on his podcast that he really likes Momentum Shake or he really likes this, I have a much higher tendency to go and order that because I trust him. So he lent his trust and credibility and he transferred it to this company and their products, and then I bought it, right? So it's a very like it's a very interesting thing when you start peeling back the layers. If you start looking at like what's going on in advertising or who's recommending who, like what you're really seeing a lot of times is like an affiliate relationship. A partnership relationship is really more how I like to look at it. There's just so many words that you can use for this style of marketing: referral marketing, performance marketing, joint venture marketing, affiliate marketing, influencer marketing, creator marketing. Right? There's all these different things that are basically nuances and flavors of the same thing, which is like it's a trust transfer, it's a referral, it's a recommendation, it's an endorsement by somebody or a brand that you tend to know, like, and trust.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Um, cool. Well, you mentioned the BNI and SEO. Maybe we could rewind back and I'm curious to hear about your journey as an entrepreneur and sort of what got you into it and all that stuff.
I never thought that I would be an entrepreneur. No one in my family, you know, um, ever talked about anything like that. My dad was I would say, a failing, struggling entrepreneur. That wasn't his true passion. He just kind of did it. He was like a painter, but he was mostly like a missionary. That was really his heart and like what he did. And so I just watched him fail at a lot of different things. And He didn't have a college degree. He graduated from high school. My mom graduated from high school. No one in our family had ever gone to college. So I was the first person on both sides of my family to go. I was a Dorrance scholar, which fully funded me. What a blessing that family is. Fully funded me to go get my undergraduate degree. And I planned on, you know, becoming an attorney, and realized quickly that it was not for me. Being an attorney was not for me. And I just feel really fortunate to have stumbled upon that, because I wouldn't have applied to colleges, had I not have people that believed in me. Like, I went to 3 high schools in 4 years. I was put in a group home when I was 15. I was homeschooled before that. I just never saw anybody successful around me or anyone that was in business. And it was the love and attention of a woman named Hollis Hemingway, who was the guidance counselor when I was a senior at my final high school. And she was like, "What are you doing with your life?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I don't know. My mom's a real estate agent. Maybe I'm going to do that, or keep working at Subway." I was working at Subway at the time. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And she was like, "You're really bright. You should apply to colleges." And she actually insisted. I didn't really take her seriously, but she ended up calling me into her office one day and was like, "I canceled all your classes. You're gonna apply for the Dorrance Scholarship. It's for first generation low income college students, and I think you'll get it. And it's better than the Gates Millennium. Like, they fund you all 4 years. They pay for your dorms, pay for your books, pay for food. They pay for you to go trips abroad. They pay for summer programming." Um, and so I was like, I mean, this sounds cool, right? To go. And I got in and loved it. Absolutely loved being in school, loved the whole like part of it. And ended up becoming as well McNair Scholar. Ronald D. McNair was the first African American astronaut, and he has a program named after him called the Ronald McNair Scholarship, and that's also for first generation low income college students. So I'm still technically fully funded for my PhD or MBA or law degree, whatever I want to do, through that. And they gave me incredible support. Like, I had so much support. And through those 2 programs, I was a non-business major. I was a poli-sci major. I was able to get into the Eller College of Business due to Dorrance Scholarship, basically allowing us to go there and paying for our Dorrance scholars to go to the program. And I just fell in love with like what I saw. It's like, wow, this is really cool. Like, learning about marketing and learning about sales. And I don't think I retained any of that information. I kind of retained like the energy of it. I was like, this is like, I didn't know what was going on, right? But I was like, I like it in here. And one of my professors who had sold his company to Oracle for like a ton of money, they asked him, like, what would you be doing right now if you were starting your business over? And he was like, there's a thing called SEO. It's called search engine optimization. I think it's going to be the future of how we find things. Right now you use Google for like your academic papers, but I think we're going to use it to find restaurants, and it's going to replace MapQuest. And like, I held on to that because I was like, this guy's way smarter than me. And when I graduated, I was supposed to study for the LSAT. And because I was homeschooled, I was never taught math. Like, I know money math, but like, I was never taught any of that stuff. My parents like were like, here's the Bible and go read some books and like help your dad with his failing contracting business and like go open air preach with him. That's like what I did. I wasn't taught like normal stuff. So I had to study really hard on anything science or math related. So I was like, I'm definitely going to need to take a year off to study, right? And in that time, I came across a Craigslist ad that said, "We cracked Google's algorithm, SEO company." And I was like, okay, I remembered what my professor said. I applied. I ended up being their first employee in a dingy little office in Tucson. We built it up to a really big company. I became their VP of sales, and loved it. And that's where I got into like, my first BNI group. And, I was the SEO person there. I sold SEO door to door to a bunch of businesses that were paying Dex and Yellow Pages a ton of money. And like 90% of them couldn't understand. They're like, what is this Google thing? It's like, doesn't make sense. Like, no, I'm paying, this is Yellow Pages. I've always done it this way. But the ones that tried it, it was like $75 a month. We were selling SEO packages for $75 a month. And once I saw with my own 2 eyes the power of that, once I saw our first clients getting hundreds of phone calls a month and watching them go from like 1 location to 3 locations, and like just seeing that and hearing the conversations on the call tracking and upping their packages and increasing what we were doing with them, making their website better, making it mobile friendly, all this stuff, I just realized like this can impact so many business owners, and this is like a real thing. Like, and then I became like an evangelist. Like, when I believe in something, I believe it. And I just was like everywhere. So I was in NABO and I was in Toastmasters and I was in BNI. And then eventually like we're selling LifeLock and Nike and Aetna and Cigna are clients, and it's a whole different ball game. And that's kind of how I got started in marketing, was just like people believing in me and me being like, okay, if you see a path for me that I don't see, you're smarter than me and know more than me. And I'm just going to trust that you have good intentions for me and I'm going to try it. And that's been like a huge bulk of my career, is just doing that, is like seeing that somebody saw something in me or seeing something in somebody else and backing people that, are small people, but putting my full force behind them, knowing that they're talented, and seeing the path for them and helping them explode their businesses with the various things that I've learned in my career.
Yeah, that's so cool. And it's amazing to me that part where you mentioned the counselor canceled the classes for you for the
Yeah,
day
she did.
just to make sure that you could get that done. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, she's
yeah,
amazing. She's amazing. I ended up nominating her for Counselor of the Year, and she won after that, just to kind of give back to her. Because, I went from being in 98% Hispanic schools, very low income, to then going on to Mountain View High School in Tucson, which is like 98% white, affluent. And, she saw something in me and like kept sending me messages like in my locker and stuff, like, what are we going to say when you walk, like where are you going? Because everybody in that school went to college for the most part, right? Whereas like the other schools that I was at, like many people didn't. It was the opposite. And so she saw that, I had, even though I went to three high schools in 4 years, that I had excelled in all my AP history classes. And, I was a stellar student, except for math. Math was like my challenge no matter what. And just, she was just like, you're too talented to not go. And like, I see that in you. And it was like so life-giving to have an adult like recognize that in me, that like, not just like you're smart, like here's why you're smart. I'm looking at your grades, like look at other people that have way worse grades than you and way less support, and parents that are together and, got good schooling and they're not even where you're at, and like painting that picture really helped me understand it, where I was like, oh, like I just didn't know how to place myself, right, up until then. And yeah, she changed my life, man. I'm just so grateful for her.
yeah, and it's amazing to think like not to downplay the effort that she put in, but it doesn't take much to really inspire somebody. Like
Yeah.
just the smallest little bit of attention, the smallest little bit of encouragement can go a long way, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. She advocated for me, man. She championed for me. I hope everyone has people like that in their lives.
yeah, love that. So, when did you make the leap from working at that SEO company to doing your own thing?
Um, I was getting really burnt out of being a manager. So I went from being the star salesperson, which was very fun for me. Love that. Love going with my clients, taking them out, whining and dining. I even love the chasing, the phone chasing, the follow up. Like there, it gives me like a little thrill, to managing a big team. And I hated that. I hated being in the office and opening it up and holding people accountable to their KPIs, and like dealing, when you're a manager, you're dealing with a lot of the problems in the business. And I just hated it. It was like burning me out after doing it for 5 or 6 years. And I had somehow stumbled upon first Simon Black, Sovereign Man, and then Early to Rise. And I saw this, I fell for a long form direct response email letter that was going to teach me their greatest secret. And so I
Classic internet
applied.
marketing rabbit hole.
Classic, dude. Classic. Applied, went in, got the interview. They made me an offer. I had 2 weeks to leave. And I was like, I'm gonna take the leap and move my whole life from Arizona to Denver, and learn the greatest secret, which I ended up figuring out was copywriting. And then I hated copywriting. Not that I love to write. Like the writing part has always, I love it. I love the mechanisms of copy. But for me, I'm very much a relational person, and spending all my time researching and like behind a computer like all day without really having conversations, like that drained the life out of me. So pretty quickly, 6 months in, I was like, well, I live here now. Like I have to figure it out. So I went back and talked to them and I was like, I am like, I mean, I'm writing good copy, but like I'm also went from making six figures, multi six figures a year to making 22,500 because you guys said that I was going to learn the world's greatest secret. And like I'm a junior copywriter, all the big copywriters are getting all the money. Like I'm dying here, like after 6 months, and I'm bored. And they were like, well, we have an affiliate program. There's no one running it. And I was like, what is that? And so they showed me and I was like, okay. And I just exploded it like in a couple months. Like it was like our main form of customer, new customer acquisition and our main, revenue stream. And I think their biggest launch before me was like 389,000. And then I did like 1.2 or 1.3 million. I can't remember, around there. And they're like, whoa. And I was like, whoa, like this is like, I loved it because I was willing to pick up the phone. I mean, that was the thing. Like I came from selling door to door and selling, I had a whole hungry team of all commission salespeople. Like we lived on the phones, we lived in person. So, this thing was very foreign to me that we were gonna talk on Skype and like email each other. Like it just felt so slow. And like I'm trying to get stuff done here. Like I'm trying to, move this stuff here. So I would just pick up the phone and I didn't know people weren't really doing that. Like I was calling people that now I know who they are because they're my friends. Like I'm calling Mike Geary, I'm calling Jeff Radich, I'm calling all these really big John Benson. I'm just calling that I have their number right here in my files. I'm gonna call you and just chat. And they were all like, who is this person? But I have the gift of gab. So and I could paint the picture like, hey, here's what we're doing. Like, what do you need like to make it feel good? I'm new to affiliate marketing, I'm not new to sales. Like how we get this thing going, and like it worked. And so then I was like, oh wow, like I could do affiliate marketing. And then eventually like every good salesperson, what happens to them, or at least what happened to me in my career at almost every place I ever worked at, is I start making more money than the CEO, and it's a problem. So then once that happens, then all of a sudden my comps start getting changed, right?
Mm,
And I just got to the point, that was the last time it happened to me where I was like, I'm just done with this. Like, yeah, I'm making more money than the CEO because I bring in most of the revenue of the company. And so sorry, that was the agreement that we made, and now it wants to be changed because it's causing office politics. Well, you have the ability to give the CEO more money now. I don't know why it needs to affect me, right? And so after that happening time and time again at a bunch of different companies I worked at, I was like, this is dumb. I'm just gonna go do it for myself. Not knowing how hard it would be, right? I have a whole new appreciation for owners now because I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know about all this other stuff, payroll, HR, taxes, all very new to me. But I'm glad I did it because, at the end of the day, like I think I'm unemployable now. Like I'm a force of nature when it comes to partnerships and, like my connections and my resources in that way. But like working on someone else's schedule, doing what they want me to do, building their dream is just like I'm fine to build the dream together, but to do it for somebody is just not something that I enjoy doing.
yeah, yeah, that's great. You use that word partnership and you talk about, that transfer of trust and yeah, so let's get into it. Like, what are some of the great ways that people can increase reach, increase revenue with these partnerships and kind of coming together to create something bigger with
Yeah.
affiliate?
I I have a deep passion for helping business owners put a partnership program into their business because, um, I have seen so many things in my career, including, if you're a business owner that relies on algorithms to drive your new customer acquisition, I think that at flip of a switch, that algorithm's going to change. Whether, when I was doing SEO, it was like Panda, Penguin updates, all these updates, and like overnight, half our clients would lose their rankings, their first page rankings. And it's like now we have to figure out how to switch things around and get them back. Some never recovered, like it decimated their business for a while or forever, right? And so like you see this on Facebook all the time. One year you're ripping and roaring, doing before and afters, and your cost to acquire a customer is great and you have the whole thing dialed, and then the next minute it's not compliant anymore, it stops working, or your ad costs go too high, and or you get kicked off for no reason. Like I've seen some of my friends with some of the cleanest supplement brands, zero claims, no before and afters. They got kicked off and deplatformed for 3 years on Facebook, and they were spending like millions of dollars a month on there for a very stupid reason that no one could tell them about. They went through the, Israelis, they went through the Canadians, they went through everyone to try to figure it out. They were kicked off for 3 years. They had to do huge layoffs. It took them 3 years to recover, right? And thankfully for them, they ended up finding out that podcasts were like a really good source of customer acquisition for them and some other things. But like that was hard. That was brutal for them. And it cost them a lot. And also cost them, I think a significant exit for their business. And for me, like, I don't think that partnership marketing will ever replace paid media in terms of its scalability. But when I tell people this, next thing is that I'm also behind and have seen and am seeing and will continue to see companies that are doing multi 8 figures and 9 figures a year with just affiliate partnerships, with just that, nothing else. And so to me, it's like there is a lot of scale to this if you can do it right. And I think, you really have to work with and should work with an expert like me or somebody else that can kind of look at your business and be like, okay, if we were to put a partnership program or an affiliate program into your business, like we need to be looking at it from the lens of how competitive is it? Because what I see most people doing is like, I want to do affiliate marketing, and they like throw it on the list of their team's, long to-do list. It's like, you figure it out. And it's like, no, no. Number one, we need to focus on 3 things: the program itself. How competitive is it? Is this going to be something that you're all commission salespeople? Because that's usually what your affiliates are. All commission, or if you're working with influencers creators, some hybrid flat fee to create the marketing materials plus commission, right? So is this a competitive program? Does it make business sense, financial sense to promote you? Not just in terms of your commission, but in terms of your reputation, in terms of how you take care of your customers, in terms of your ability to absorb overnight a huge influx of customers. How are we tracking it? Like, right. So like really kind of thinking that through, and every business is different. So I'll see somebody be like, oh, my buddy that also does internet marketing is paying 40% on his stuff. And you're like, okay, well, it's an automated program that he's had for 5 years and you get no personal touches. So that's why he's paying that. You would lose your shirt if you have all these high touches and these coaches. Like, you need to understand that you only see what you can see. And that's why it's important to work with an expert that really understands the landscape of what you're doing. And then the next part is the people, right? So the people internally in your business, do they have the ability to push this forward every single day? It's a channel just like any other. And this is like the thing that like really grinds my gears if we're talking about it, which is like, if you said to me, Amber, I want to be a YouTube star, you would know it takes months and months and months and months of concentrated effort and consistency and video editing and all this stuff before you got your first 5,000, and then how hard it is to get 10,000 and 100,000. Like, you would know it has an algorithm and a tempo and a timing and a consistency factor, just like if you were doing meta ads. It's the same thing with partnership marketing and affiliate marketing. Like, we have our own standards, we have our own, language, we have our own best practices, and we need consistency. It takes time to develop, right? And it takes somebody to push it forward every single day. And I hear people saying, they're like, partnership marketing doesn't work. It's like, well, when I talked to you, you had your assistant who's also doing 10,000 other things for you, running your program. She doesn't know what she's doing. She said no training. There's no, like, there's nothing. Like, you didn't create any assets. There's no tracking. Like, of course it didn't work for you, because nobody who's doing this for a living wants to partner with somebody like you. They want to be taken care of. This is your all commission sales team. So why would you give them nothing to work with? No scripts, no support, no sale. Like, that's just not how this works, right? At scale. And I think for me, that people part is so important. Internally, who's driving it, who's owning it, and then externally, what affiliates are you partnering with? Because when I say affiliates, you're going to think of something different. I'm going to think of something different. Are we talking traditional affiliates, media buyers, newsletters, listicles, coupon code? Like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about influencers and creators, or are we talking ambassadors and referral partners? They're all different. They all work differently. They all need different assets. They all need different support. So like, what are we building? Who are we attracting to? And finally, the process is like the other part, which is, how do we get somebody to send you customers and clients day after day, month after month, year after year, rinse and repeat? Like, that is where this thing starts to scale. And without good process, you're never going to get there, right? So it's like those 3 things: the program, the people, the process, is what I focus on a lot. And it's what, it's something that I've learned over years, and I can do it in a local company, I can do it in a national company, I can do it in a global company, I can do it in neutral, I can do it in financial, I can do whatever, because those are the tenets of what makes a good program. And there will be industry best practice that will set the terms of, in terms of competitiveness and in terms of who the players are. So we just take that system and you plug it into a business. And I tell you, my clients that have this installed into their business sleep much better at night, because they could have the algorithm turn off tomorrow and all these different omni-channel stuff turn off, but they have their email list, they have their customer list, and they have their affiliate program, which does not rely on algorithms. It relies on relationships, and it relies on, these sort of partnerships where you can pick up the phone and call. Like we had a client that had a COVID info product. It was a docuseries on vaccines, right? And nobody would run it, right? It would not run on Facebook. It would run nowhere. But with just their affiliate partners, they did 300,000 opt-ins on that thing, right? And it ran, and it did really well. And so like it's things like that where it's like, if even if like big pharma or big tech or anybody doesn't want you to do it, it doesn't matter. If you have the right affiliate programs, the right affiliate partners, and you have a good program, right? And you have a proven offer or set of offers that converts and that works, and you have good relationships and good testimonials with your clients, and you're a good fit and a good candidate for it.
Yeah, I love that. And it sounds like, I've been thinking a lot about, I watched an interview with Peter Thiel, and he talked about how increasingly a college degree is less so about creating opportunities and more so about insurance that you don't fall through the cracks in society. So like same with the affiliate program, seems like yes, it does have that ability to like you said, you can get up to 9 figures just on the affiliate program alone, but it's also an insurance play to make sure that you can still keep the lights on if something catastrophic happens in another part of the business that you
Yeah.
that you don't have much control over.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because I see so many people being like, "Yeah, I'll get to it later. I'll do my affiliate program," and then this happens, and then they're like, I was like, "Amber, I need you. I'm your savior." I'm like, "Dude, relationships take time, and on top of it, you want to jump to the front of the line and start getting everybody promoting you when no one knows you in this industry like this. We might know your business, right? You might have a business that everyone recognizes, but we don't know how your actual performance is in terms of the affiliate program. So if you want to skip the line, you have to pay for it, right? Like if you want to skip the line of building trust over time, you got to pay for it. And the bad news is you're coming to me when you are crunched for cash. So either start it now, right? Start it now, start building relationships now, start warming that up, start figuring out what you're willing to do. Because a lot of people are like, I want everyone to promote me and I don't want to promote anybody else. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, guess who gets that? The person who's the king of the hill, the number one in their industry that can pay the fastest, pay the most, is the most reputable. And unless you're there, then I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you. You don't have an offer, you're not proven, you don't have a team that's working on it, like no one knows you. Like, I'm sorry, but like I have to be the bearer of bad news. And anybody, like, it's one of the things that bothers me is I see other, not to talk shit about the industry at all, but it's like I see other people training on this and I'm like, dude, you're setting them up for failure, right? Because you're not telling them how this really works, right? Which is like you're going to have to spend diligent, dedicated effort 6 to 12 months before you really start to see a lift. And that's if you're coming in with a competitive program that makes sense. It's if you're coming in with somebody who has the contacts, who has the training, who has the experience. And the good news is that will you ever have with partnership marketing. But if you're coming in and your program's not competitive and you don't like talking to people or all this stuff, it's like then spend your energy and effort figuring out another channel that you can swipe your credit card on and start getting going, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or Google or whatever, right? Whatever it is, native ads, whatever it is, you're better off doing this than risking your relationship capital with these people where it's never going to back out for you, right? It's like really, you just really need to understand. But on the flip side, I love being able to partner, either my clients or myself with brands and people that I admire and I respect, that like it has that halo effect, right? Where it's like, let's just say if Patrick Bet David, right? If you're a conservative, or, Tucker Carlson, if you're a conservative, said that you and your gold product or your crypto offer was like the best, right? Like that halo effect, not just the customers that you're going to be getting, the association, right? Like you're a health influencer, you being associated with Andrew Huberman or Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, it's going to be huge halo effect for you, right? And you see it all the time with brands. Like, and I don't think people quite like, I hope after this you start looking, it's like I've seen collaborations between like Louis Vuitton and Supreme. Why would they do that? Why would two brands do that? Well, because they're trying to increase their reach and their revenue and get into new markets through this style of partnership. Louis Vuitton and Mercedes. You buy a new Mercedes, you get a Louis Vuitton luggage, right? Like there's these different things that they're doing all the time to do partnership marketing to do things that they're not going to have to spend money to acquire those customers. They're just tapping into an audience swapping on these different brands. Like it's happening all the time, right? Like I just think that people like it looks like it's just like organic. It looks like a very like, oh, my buddy Grant Cardone like just loved this product. So he just like off the hit talked about it. It's like, no, that was completely intentional. They had an affiliate relationship set up. Like that's just like how this works. Like, does he
Right.
believe the product's good? I would hope so. I would hope so, right? Like that's the whole point of doing it is like partner with people that have products that work that take care of their clients and then you can do this sort of audience swap, right? But like that stuff's not just happening just because they have it out of the goodness of their hearts and because they think it'd be cool. Like that's happening because they're trying to swap audiences, they're trying to tap into each other's customer bases, and they're trying to grow their reach and their revenue without prepaying for everything and prepaying for every eyeball on these algorithms.
Yeah. I love that you go into the nuance and the because some people might think like, oh, I just I'll just create an affiliate link that people can sign up for. People are going to beat a path to my door and they're going to start promoting me instantly. And like
So
even for
dumb.
myself, like we can talk
Yeah.
about the summit brand. Like we had our virtual summits and it was my first I created an affiliate program as my first time doing it. And you know, we had some decent results with it, but also like I reached out to a friend. I was like, "Hey, we're doing this thing. Do you know anyone who may want to promote?" And it was like a month out from the
Yeah. And
summit.
they're like,
And
it's a month
they're
out,
like,
dude. Like,
yeah, they're
what?
like,
No.
they do this
Yeah.
like 3 to 6 months in advance. I was like,
Yeah.
really? So
Yeah.
I think maybe people, if they have this in mind, like, oh, everyone's going to be incentivized because I'm going to give them a commission to, you know, to promote this. And I'm just going to have an army of commission salespeople that are going to start going. So I love that you talk about, and that was also something else like when I first started in internet marketing, I didn't really understand what does an affiliate manager do? Like, what is there to manage? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then it's like it's all about, and I love how you could bring it back to relationships. It's all about, you know, they know how to inspire, how they know what the industry standard is, they know how to you know, create those win-win-wins for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And even your summit, like you're talking about, like, from an affiliate perspective, you're going to have your missionaries and your mercenaries. There is a lot more mercenaries than missionaries. And I'll tell you
Mm.
what I mean by that. There's going to be people that believe in your mission and believe in you will promote you no matter what. The money part is secondary to them. It's important, but it's secondary. And then everybody else, I call them mercenaries because to me, a mercenary is like you're there for the money. It has to make financial sense. I'm going to say that the nuance underneath here is that it should be products and services and things that are good, right? So let's just assume and go on the assumption that we're picking from a suite of products or partnerships that we actually believe are beneficial to the world, right? So let's just work from that understanding. But like a summit or like a launch, it's an unproven offer, right? And if I'm doing things at scale, and I've been on the back end of so many different companies, either as an affiliate manager, training their affiliate managers, being additional support before they launch, or whatever it is, I've seen on the back end of all this stuff. It is a risk for me to promote you, especially if if I'm buying a lot of media and I'm in the red for a lot of days. A lot of people, people don't know this, a lot of people, the way that they're closing that gap is they're putting ancillary third party offers into their back end so that they can close that gap that they're spending on the marketing, right? So if I have to promote your unproven summit and I make nothing on it, or if I'm used to making 5,000 a day or however much from promoting a third party offer, meaning somebody else's product or services, then that hurts me and my business because now I have to make that up on the next one, right? So it's like you have to really start understanding what you're asking for. And like for me, I like to take the risk off of people and be like, I understand this is a new like offer or a new launch, whatever. We're not new to business. Here's all the things that we've internally tested, et cetera, et cetera. I understand still it's going to be different when it goes out into the main world. So let me de-risk it for you and let me guarantee you a particular earning per lead or earning per click or however you're calculating it for you. Let's base it on reality. Let's not base it on the best promotion you've ever done in your whole life. Let's base it on what you're happy with, and let's guarantee you that, because I know I'm going to have to work on stuff. I have seen one offer in 12 years that came out of the gate that didn't need optimizations that made a lot of money. Like one that like really hit the metrics. So it's like, you
And that says a
understand.
lot, knowing how
Yeah.
many you've worked on.
One,
Right.
one that did 10 million its first like jump out the gate. One. Like that's the thing where it's like you have to keep optimizing and iterating. Everything that you're learning on paid media, you can come over and apply it to your warm traffic. And that's the other part. It's like, what's great about this, it's like that middle of funnel traffic where it's that endorsed warmer traffic because it's coming from a trusted source or a trusted brand. So on average, it's going to convert significantly better, usually twice as good, sometimes like 4 times as good. Like it's going to perform better, right? Typically, because it's coming from this additional traffic source. It's different. So for me, I always tell people, they're like, I don't know what to pay people. It's like, okay, well, what is it costing you on Facebook to acquire a customer? Then pay that, right? Like pay that. Don't try to get away with paying people less. That's not the business. If you're getting into it to be like, if I can just pay people less, it's like, no. Now you're dealing with humans. Why would you want to pay Zuckerberg more than you're paying your friend, a small business owner? It does not make sense to me, right? Pay them as much as you possibly can, because not only is it going to convert better on average for you, but also lifetime customer value. They tend to stick a little bit longer too, because it's coming from a trusted source on things like continuity. So, just things
That's
to
a
kind
great
of think
point.
about, right? As
Because
you're
you don't
doing.
think about the longer term ramifications of the quality of traffic and how that translates
Totally.
to like longevity of the business.
Totally. It's like a huge impact that most people don't know about, like when they're doing it. So like for me, that's like one of the reasons why I love it. Cause it's like you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, you had a 1.5% conversion rate on Facebook. We're pumping with gas 5.7% here, over here. Like it's great. It's less clicks, it's less impressions, it's less all that, but it's more money. And frankly, it's usually more money in your pocket because you're taking the money first and then paying the affiliate. You're not just dinging your credit card incessantly, hoping that you're going to find that little pocket of traffic that's going to work for you, right? It's like this is why it de-risks things too, because you have people that you pay out after you acquire the customer.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, 2024, what kind of trends are you seeing in affiliate marketing in the whole ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a good question. So many things. Number one, I'm seeing that email acquisition for front end customer acquisition is down tremendously for our direct response kind of aggressive marketers. Like it's down across the board in a significant way, not just because of the changes I think that Gmail has made, but just in general, we've gotten into a bad habit of just beating our email list and our customer list to death. And so at a certain point, that's going to stop working. And I've been talking about it for the last 5 years and no one believed me. And that's finally happening now. Doesn't make me happy. Makes me sad because email has been a primary way that we've acquired customers for a long time. So I think that's one thing that's the bad news that's happening kind of in the affiliate marketing ecosystem, is like as a way to acquire customers front end, it's not as good as it used to be. It's still good for people who don't beat their customer list to death. So that's a good news. And it's still the best way of talking to your customers once you've acquired them, which is great. I'm seeing before it used to be like very offer centric. And then it's like, well, we also have to have a brand, right? So let's make sure we have a brand. I think now consumers are demanding even more from people where it's like, it not just a brand, it needs to be a really good product. Like I've seen so many people not starting with product in mind first. Like they're just like, let's spin up and test something and then we'll iterate on the product. But it's like, I think the most successful companies that are sellable, scalable companies that have the trust of consumers are thinking product first and brand. Like, so I think that's really, really important thing to kind of look at. The rise of TikTok is unignorable, and that boomerang effect that it's having on Amazon, right? Where it's like you're seeing, one order on TikTok. And then I heard this from Ryan Moran, who um, is a really dear friend of mine. He has a really big e-com community. So what they were seeing, he was the first one to put on my radar that one sale on TikTok is averaging 5 sales on Amazon for them. So that boomerang effect, because Amazon, I think, is still a far more trusted source in terms of buying from them. Like I know I will trust Amazon more if I'm buying from a real retailer I don't know and I see I have an option for Amazon Pay. I tend to do that, or I'll look on there and be like, maybe they're on Amazon. So I'll go look on Amazon. I'll be like, oh, it's on Amazon. I'd rather buy it on Amazon just because like it's
Mm.
2 days and I prefer it. So they're seeing a boomerang effect. Some of my friends at like Bad Marketing are showing similar metrics, 3 to 5 orders on Amazon per one sale on TikTok. So that kind of rise of that is really interesting. The
And they're
rise
able to
of
track, they're able to track the traffic from TikTok.
yeah, they're seeing that. So, and the rise of creators and influencers, I think at this point it's foolish to ignore them. Like, and it works for every type of business. Like, I'm seeing it work for precious metals. I'm seeing it work for, financial. I'm seeing it work. It's been working for e-com for a long time and health offers, but like you cannot ignore influencers and creators anymore. And the thing that I'm seeing work really well is the top influencers and creators getting a piece of equity in the company, is really what's been working. And that's been working quietly for probably the last 5 years. But now any company that really wants to scale with them should think about considering, and it should be vested and there should be, some guidelines around that and guardrails around like what happens if all of a sudden, what you just saw with like Benny Johnson. I don't know if you saw the podcasting debacle. There's a podcasting company that was recently, the owners were just recently arrested for being Russian spies, and they had a bunch of conservative influencers
Oh,
on there, right? So
I saw
it's
the
like
headline. Yeah.
guilty by association, right? So like that is a
Yeah.
one kind of thing for your brand, but like they're powerful, man. Like they move more volume than I think anybody kind of really understands when you have the right partnerships, right? The right ones. So I see that being, a really big thing. It's like TikTok to Amazon, influencers and creators coming in as like creative directors, and getting like a small piece of equity to kind of move these companies forward and using their audience, like, right. Using these creators have audiences. So I'm seeing more and more that they're being like, I don't need to promote other people's stuff. I'm just going to promote my own stuff. Right. And so that's one of the reasons why they make so much more money launching their own brands, a lot of times at scale. When you're talking about the big ones, right? Then partner with other people. So you have to really make it a really interesting proposition for them
Because
to,
they're doing the math in their head, like, well, I
yeah,
could promote this, or what's going to be the cost and time to just do my own thing, and
just do
and
my own
yeah.
thing. Right, right. But what's interesting about influencers and creators is my experience with a lot of them is they're amazing at spinning stuff up or, getting attention or, connecting with their audience, but they're not as strong as operators, right? And so that is a really great opportunity for them to work with a great operator, to partner with them. But there's a lot of stuff changing, man. Even like the rise of like ChatGPT and Perplexity and all this stuff in terms of search. Like, I'm worried for our kind of like legacy, kind of mommy bloggers or listicle people. Like that whole landscape is shifting so much. Like that, like I don't know what's gonna happen with them, right? Or like they were used to getting like all this traffic and just because they had old domain authority and like all this stuff, it's like I predict they're going to be having some serious problems kind of moving forward because the way that we're finding these things are changing. It's interesting. I think that what's going to probably end up happening at some point in the future is like every CEO, every C-suite executive is going to have their own personal brand, and that's going to be a big push to sending, leads and customers to the main business. Like I think you're going to have to get to that point where like businesses are going to have to become content generation machines themselves, regardless, and not just about training about your business. Like people are going to want to know who is running this company and why did they start it in the first place. And that kind of building in public I think is going to continue to be more and more prevalent. Probably one of the best people I see doing it is Adam Robinson, who's retention.com on LinkedIn. if you watch him, you'll see how he's building in public. Like he's transparent. He's like, here's how much money we made last month. Here's what went bad. Here's what went well. The trust that he's building with his audience is like huge, right? So this like rise of influencer CEOs, I'm seeing as like a really big play in the future as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'll look him up. I haven't heard of him yet. It's that people buy from people type of thing that seems to be growing.
Same thing. It's a basis of affiliate marketing, dude. It's like it's referral marketing. It's a transfer of trust. Like, the time where like like people care. They care more and more, right? About, where you're sourcing things from and who the owner is and what they care about. Like it's interesting. Like you really it's becoming more and more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny thing comes to mind. Like it, it seems like like even industries you would never imagine. Like I went on a recently I went on a kick of watching Eric Prince. He's a defense contractor. He ran Blackwater back in the Iraq War days. And like I was like, I would trust this guy to defend the country, right? And then
Yeah.
you have these like massive defense contractors that are faceless and just trillion-dollar, multi-trillion-dollar market. And even that, I'm like, like this guy seems like I would trust him more. And so
Yeah.
it just came to
Totally.
mind, like and like something you would never imagine, like defense,
Yeah.
and he's got a personal brand. He's going on podcasts, and he doesn't have a defense contractor company anymore. But like people are like, you should start another one. We trust you. You would do it
Yeah.
better, and all this stuff. But I want to switch over because I know the community aspect and the mastermind aspect, and bringing other entrepreneurs together, that really fires you up. So yeah, I would love to learn more about why you believe community is so important for entrepreneurs, and what you're doing with the mastermind. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I think, entrepreneurs are inherently lonely. I think it's one of the loneliest things that um you can go through because you're creating something out of nothing, right? It's an idea, it's a belief. So you have this belief that you can do something better or that this thing is needed, and you're breathing that belief and that life into your business and into your team and breathing that into your customers. And like what I've seen and what I've experienced is that a lot of entrepreneurs feel very alone. Like if things are going poorly in their business, it's like, who do you talk to? Like, you're not going to talk to your clients about that, right? Shake their confidence in you. You're not going to talk to your team, although they know because they work there every day. Morale's probably not great, right? You don't want to stress your wife or your husband out about, what's really happening, right? Most of the time, you're not going to be like, hey, we could not pay our mortgage next month, like, right? There's all of these like pressures that end up happening in an entrepreneur's life. Every single day something happens in my business that I didn't expect, right? Or maybe I did have my head down in the sand. I was like, maybe it's never going to happen to me, right? These things just happen, right? A pandemic happens. Like there's just things that happen, and it can be a very lonely experience. And vice versa, if things are going really well, right? It's like, do you celebrate with your team? Like, do you tell your high school friends that are social workers that you had $1 million month? Like, where do you go to talk through these things? And like for me, that's why I love my Four Rooms Mastermind community so much, because I built a mastermind kind of more on the Napoleon Hill style frame, which is like peer to peer, really sharing what's going on, as opposed to, gurus at the front of the stage and it's my event, I'm the star. That has its time and place. And I've been in a lot of those and I made a lot of money from them and they've been great. But for me, I wanted to build a community for those entrepreneurs that were like, Four Rooms Mastermind stands for Health, Wealth, Scale, Relationships. I believe it's the four rooms, and it's based on an Indian proverb that talks about the four rooms within us: emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual rooms. And when I came across that proverb, I was actually really sick. I was recovering from a very intense surgery. And I read that and I was like, oh, wow, I spend no time in my physical or my spiritual room at all. And I started spending more time in those rooms, quote unquote, and I felt a lot better. And so when I launched Four Rooms, I was like, what in the journey of who I want to become and who I want to be around, what types of entrepreneurs would those be? In my opinion, they're going to be entrepreneurs that are seeking wholeness, right? Like I've spent a lot of time sacrificing my body and my relationships and my friendships and my everything on the altar of financial success. And that's only one metric of success, in my opinion, right? Like how big your business is great. You know, how much profit you're taking home, probably arguably more important. But if that's the only metric that you judge yourself by, then you put your worth on the value of your business. And like that is such a toxic, sick place to be, and nothing will ever be enough. Right. And so once I understood that, you know, I lost my ability to have children. That's how like much I sacrificed my body. Right. Like that's how sick I was. And I will never go back to that. And there are places where that sort of imbalance, and I would argue that most places that is celebrated, that is celebrated. It's like your business revenue as an entrepreneur matters more than anything else. And I want to be around people that also believe that their health is important, the health of their families, the health of their relationships, that having quality relationships with their peers is important, that their legacy is important, their impact's important, like that all those things are important. And that's what I've been cultivating. And it's surprising because there's a lot of really successful people there. Like really successful. Like Matt Paulson, I don't know if you know him from MarketBeat. It's his second year coming back. He's doing over 40 million a year right now. Great business. Like his profit margin's insane. Insane. It would make you sick to think about it, like in a good way. And he never comes to other people's events. He comes to mine because he likes to be around other people that are at that level and that also care about all the other things in life that are important. And so I think being a part of a community in general as an entrepreneur is a non-negotiable. You should be around other entrepreneurs, but I would argue find places where they're a reflection of who you want to become, right? Because when I was in a bunch of masterminds, all I cared about was money. And when you have no money, that is the one thing that you should be focused on, right? And I made a lot of money in those groups, and they were really, really beneficial for me. And in fact, I'm still in some of those, and I enjoy them. But like at this point in time in my life, I'm much more focused on my legacy and like the impact that I'm having and who I want to become, you know, as a leader of my family, and, you know, hopefully being able to have a kid with my partner, right? Like just different things in my life. And I want to be around people that have already figured that out, that have had 25-year marriages and a 9-figure business, and they have great relationship with their kids and all these. That's who I want to be around at this point in time, because I already figured out the money part, right? Like that part's been figured out. There are other things I need to figure out, you know, but like that's figured out. And I think that every entrepreneur should be in groups like that. But if you're an entrepreneur in groups like that and you go and you feel drained, there's a problem, right? Like that's a sign to me that you're in the wrong community, right? Like, so be in one and just know that like these are real bonds. Like I have stress tested my relationships in ways that like most people could not imagine. Like I lost my former partner, my girlfriend, to suicide at the end of 2019. It was horrific. And the way that I grew my business at the time, Four Rooms is like my heart. It's an event company. It barely, like, you know, we have big production. It barely makes me any money at the end of the day. I would be working for a couple bucks an hour, but it's my favorite thing to do. I made the decision very early on not to live off of my group, right? There's a lot of mastermind leaders. That's the only thing that they do. And I have a lot of respect for them. They have a lot of longevity in it. But like, I never wanted that because I also saw the other side of it, which is like when you make money and that's the only way you make money, you let the wrong people in because you have to, right? And so for me, it's always about curation. But like, I have another business. That's what I do for, you know, my income is my partnership marketing stuff. And when my former partner died, it destroyed, like I was just racked with guilt and shame and regret and what ifs and if I had onlys and all this stuff. I could not work. And shortly after COVID hit, and the way that I made money and was doing lead generation for my business primarily was me speaking on stage. So not only am I not mentally there, I can no longer actually like work in terms of like generating customers for us. And it was amazing to watch what happened, to see like how my community rallied around me. Like they literally, I could not walk through my house for months. Doorbells ringing every single day. They're sending matzo ball soups from New York. There's a blanket with, her face on it. There's flowers showing up at the door. My friends are showing up with the casserole. Like, they didn't take me saying that I'm okay for, like, they didn't take my word for it. They were showing up, they were FaceTiming me, they were calling me. Some of them stepped in to help me run my business. We couldn't speak from stage. So I was like, maybe I can start this like group coaching thing. Never done that before. We had 300 people in it overnight. Like, it saved our business, right? Like, that could not have happened had I not spent time like developing these relationships and being like willing and able to say, hey, I really need help, or like not even being able to say it. Like, frankly, I was never like, hey, I like need help. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about doing this. And everyone's like, we'll put our teams in it. We'll join it. We'll do it. We know how good you are. Like, we'll do it. It got us through, man. And like, if you don't have that, I think every entrepreneur needs something like that. And, we've walked people through losing their mom. We've walked them through suicidal ideations. We've walked them through divorce. We've walked them through death. And like, that will happen to every single entrepreneur that's listening to this. And if you don't have a good community to rely on, like, I would welcome you to check out my group or check out groups like this. There's so many good groups. There's EO, there's Young President Association, there's Driven Mastermind. There's so many different groups out there, and like, definitely join one so that you're not feeling like you're alone, in good times or in bad, because it really can be super lonely. And that's the reason why I love having the community that I have.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really appreciate you sharing some of those challenges that I didn't even know about. So it yeah really shows how important those things are. And I love the idea of having a more balanced approach, because it's like, you know, I think a lot of entrepreneurs get into this because not because of money, but because they want the freedom, or they want to build something amazing, or they want to do something on their own terms that they know they can do better than, anywhere else. And the money is a tool or a measurement of how to do that. But we're people. We're not cogs in businesses, even if it's our own business. And that holistic approach. Um, I know it for myself too. It's like, there's some things that are hard to change or hard to see until life smacks you in the face,
Yeah.
and with a big challenge or a big painful moment. Um, and so I love that approach, and I also love that you want to surround yourself with people that you want what they have, not in a monetary way, but they've built a successful family, or they have a sense of peace about them. And so yeah, I think that's an incredible way to approach things. And the fact that it's not your core source of income, it's something
Yeah.
you do because you love it. I
Yeah.
think that's super important.
Yeah,
So I,
man.
I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you, for the first time this year, started running ads for my mastermind. We've sold out every year since we started it 8 years ago, by all referral or nomination only. And so this year I was like, I really want to see if I can push it a little bit, like start running ads. And up until 3 weeks ago, I had lit $55,000 on fire, literally on fire. Like, I was just like, what am I doing? Like, because I'm picky, right? Like, so we
So
had
you were
probably
generating leads, but you were
generating
just
leads,
you were just being careful of who was coming in.
totally generating leads. We probably did 100 appointments. And we invited 8 back. Out of those 8, 4 have said yes and joined us, right? So 8 out of 100. But like, it's so nice to be in that position where like I can just be like, no. And thank God, right? Those 4 were now $26,000 in the hole now. So much better. But I think it's a willingness to say no, that like, I see people who own masterminds and that's the only thing that they do. They usually cannot do that because they need to have, that recurring revenue coming in, because that's their main revenue source. Not to say that it's a bad thing, right? Like, it's just not what I wanted for my life. I didn't want to eat off of my group. Now, do I get opportunities from my group? Every day. It's amazing for deal flow. There is a reason why my business partner at East Fifth was okay with me spending, the last quarter of every year on like putting on this event. It's a huge production. It's almost $1 million production for 150 people. It's like, it's a lot of moving parts, all these things, because the deal flow from it long term is very good when you have a high performing community. Like we all send business to each other, right? So it was fine. But, at the end of the day, I think there's a difference between like having, and there's so many different types of masterminds. There's the mastermind where you're paying to access the guru, right? Where you're paying to access the Jay Abraham or the whoever, right? Like you're paying for
you want the
access to that.
blessing.
You want the blessing, right? You want the blessing. And that can be very valuable. I've been in groups like that. And I learned a lot from being at the knee of a mentor like that. And I also got, the ancillary community support from that. So I learned a lot. But like that's not what my group is. Because if you come to my events, you'll see that I'm doing intros on stage, I'm doing all that. I went the other direction where I let my community dictate who's on stage. So everything we do is driven by intake forms. So now I pick who's speaking main stage, who's leading breakout rooms based on what the group demands. And a lot of times the world-class people are already in our group, right? So it's like, great, we can pull. If not, we go outside and source them in. But then we use that also to handpick where people are sitting at 2 of the 4 dinners at our big event, where they're sitting in general session so that we can create that connection. Because it's not about me, it's about everyone else, right? Like I'm curating the container. And if I curate the container right with the right people, then that's where the magic happens and the intentionality, right? So there's just different types of masterminds that you can do, right? Like you can join a mastermind like I saw a new one, Adley, the viral-ish like Facebook girl. She's teaching you how to do ads. Amazing, right? Like that's what you're going in to buy. You're going in to learn that skill. Like amazing. If that's the biggest pain problem in your business right now, or that's what you want to learn, spending a year learning from her would be a really smart idea, right? So like just kind of knowing what your intentions are, I think are also really important when you're going into a mastermind group, and just kind of figuring out like how much support do I really get? If I'm trying to come in and like be with the guru, would it be better to buy his mastermind or her mastermind for the whole year? Or would it be better for me to just buy a 2-day intensive to have them look at my stuff? Right? Is that better? So just kind of like working through that, I think is an important thing.
Yeah, really smart. Well,
Yeah.
Amber, really appreciate the time you share with us. I know you've got a few different areas where people could possibly reach you. Where's the best place for people to go online?
Yeah, you can I always give my email because I'm like, it's my email. If you want to talk to me, like I'm open book. I learned that from Perry Belcher. He gives a cell phone number. I would die if I gave my cell phone number out. Too many.
Same. I don't think I could do that.
I could do that. But my email, if you want to check us out at fourroomsmastermind.com, my email is amber at fourroomsmastermind.com. If you want to learn more about the mastermind and check us
And that's
out.
the four spelled out or the number
Yes,
four.
FOUR. Yeah. And then if you want to learn about affiliate marketing, if I can help you grow your reach and your revenue that way, then we'd love that. It's east5thavenue.com with the 5th Avenue fully spelled out. And my email is the same, Amber at East Fifth Avenue. Would be happy to help anyone and everyone that wants to learn about that. Because like I said, it is a passion of mine to help business owners. And I predict that, whether we say we're in a soft landing or a recession or whatever we want to call it, I think this, Jay Abraham called it the recession-proof revenue stream. And I do believe that that is true. So helping entrepreneurs put it into their business before they have to, or need to, I think is a really good thing for them. So if you guys, need any help, either finding community or growing with partnerships, I'd be delighted to help.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Anything else you wanted to cover that we didn't cover, or maybe you wanted to say that came up during our conversation?
No, I just appreciate you asking. Thank you. I had a great time chatting with you, and just feel really honored to be here.
Awesome. Well, Amber, thanks again. And yeah, really appreciate you coming on. And I know people get a lot out of this. So thank you.
Of course.